Hello and welcome back to the Popcorn for Dinner podcast. I'm sorry to say, but we're just a tribute band with good parts, but a bad brand. We are at the halfway point of Succession's final season. We're somehow at the halfway point. And joining me once
Crazy.
again to discuss season 4, episode 5, fresh from the Hanna-Barbera Business School. Guys, I swear, he's funnier with subtitles. It's a Bube! How
Yeah,
are you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, that's good. I might be funnier with subtitles, but I guess it depends on the audience. Just preparing for my trip up to the mountains for the corporate retreat. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
It didn't have to be that high up. Like,
It,
Lucas,
it
I know
really
you're
didn't have
trying
to be
to,
that high up.
yeah, I know you're trying to be a dick, but gee, I was genuinely scared. I was like, where did they shoot this? Did they actually shoot this high up?
It's crazy that like the retreat is happening there of all places. I mean, Nordic countries are already like very beautiful and mountainous as it is, but they I don't know why they had to go to an actual waterfall. Which, funny enough, one of those characters, like the guys sitting at the table and
Hmm.
welcoming are the people we know when they arrive,
Yeah.
plays Olaf in Vikings Valhalla, which is fantastic. I saw him there. I was like, ah, it's you. Like, this is too funny. Like, you're being a Viking and now you're like being a modern day Viking with like,
Yeah.
this Viking tech dude. It's too funny.
When he said he plays Olaf, my brain was going to the exact opposite. I was like, wait, no,
Oh, you were thinking
That's
of
Josh
frozen
Gad.
Olaf?
Yeah, I was like, that's Josh Gad.
Yeah,
Which I
yeah,
guess
yeah.
it's the exact opposite from Vikings Valhalla.
Very much so.
Yeah,
Vikings Valhalla is
not the
very
same
violent.
on the same wavelength. Yeah, we're gonna talk about season 4, episode 5. Before that, please, if you're listening, please rate and review. Please follow us. Please share with anyone that you know that watches Succession. This is a very popular show, very fun show. Um, Quickly, Priscilla and Jess's film podcast is this cinema will be launching later this week. So please keep an eye out for that. Please check it out. Some fun things planned. Actually, over the next like 10 weeks, because there's a lot of movies that are coming out very soon. Um, all leading up to the Popcorn for Dinner National Holiday, which is the day Barbie and Oppenheimer both drop. Um, I mean, which one are you watching first?
uh, Maybe Barbie. If we're being very honest, it just looks
That's
so much fun.
that's fair.
It's too fun.
That's fair. Um, I don't want to decide which one I'm watching first just yet. It depends on. Well, Oppenheimer is 3 hours, so I have to. I know it's going to be when I'm. I can only watch that when I have the mental fortitude.
Quite literally,
So it'll probably be a Saturday that I've already had a nap, not on the Friday.
Christopher Nolan, man.
Anyways,
Wow.
Succession, season 4, episode 5, titled "The Kill List," written by John Brown and Ted Cohen, and directed by Andrew Parek, who has directed some of the best Succession episodes. Actually, he did Hunting, which
Yes.
you guys may remember as
Mm,
Ball on the Floor. He did what I
mm-hmm.
believe is the first great episode from the show, which is "Which Side Are You On?" I think he did Volta as well, which is when obviously when Kendall got Volta. So yeah, he's kind of like the second in-house director for Succession. Like they obviously give out a lot of episodes to like Lawrence Kafaria or Kathy Yan, but I think if it's not Mark Milo, the next person in-house is usually Andrew Perek. So yeah. Um, oh, before I go anywhere, let me just start. So some of you might have listened to a previous episode, last week's episode. I hope you did. If you don't, go back. It's a very fun episode in which I sent out a theory. The theory was, let me just take a sip of water because I want to be calm when I do this.
Oh boy.
I won't repeat the theory just for
Thank you.
decency's sake. I don't want to tag this episode as explicit, but the theory involved Greg, who continues to be a great character. Like this week, is like, hi, what do you call him? The Roy Quad. What did he say? I should have written it down. Oh my god,
The Quad Squad.
the Quad Squad. The Quad Squad. Anyway, the theory involved Greg and Shiv. And a friend of mine reached out to me. And anyway, you know what? I'm gonna blame you partly for this as well. Because
Me?
you didn't flag it during the episode. But I forgot that Greg and Shiv are second cousins. I forgot that they're related.
which is one of the reasons I was looking at you like, are you
Well,
sure this is your theory?
you didn't flag it. You didn't, because in
I
my
thought
head,
it was obvious.
no, in my head, Greg was just a guy, and I still think the theory works if Greg is just a guy that works for Tom. But
Wow.
now knowing that they're cousins, I was like, oh yeah, that's the wrong HBO show. I'm sorry. I was like, I didn't.
Oh wow. Wow, you really just came for
So
them.
that's my Greg mea culpa, guys. I think
Mad,
the theory works if they're not relatives. But yeah, I
which
completely
they
forgot
are.
that they were cousins. Which yes,
Yeah.
okay.
He literally
Um,
calls him Uncle Logan.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but like, Logan was dead, so out of sight, out of mind. I forgot. I'd forgotten about him.
Yeah,
Anyway,
people
okay.
will give you a pass.
So before we go into the retreat in Norway, let's just quickly run through what happens in New York. It's Kendall's first day on the job. It's Big Boy's first day on the job. He's
Yeah.
listening to Jay Z, uh, which obviously it's meant to remind you of the pilot. That's not. I don't think that's
Yeah.
not
It
a
it
mistake.
really lends credence to your theory of like, or actually our theory, I guess, of how everything that's happening now might be kind of like
What should
maybe
have
the
happened?
original intention of the
Hmm.
show if
Hmm.
Brian Cox had died at the end of season one, right? The
Hmm.
original trajectory before they said, you know what, let's get some great stories out of like this dynamic. Because there's so many, it's just so many mirrors that we can really just see
Yeah,
parallels to different things from season one.
I've been thinking about Saul recently as well. Better Call Saul, and
Okay.
there are no strong parallels or whatever. But I was just remembering how during one of our recordings we were discussing the final half rather, the final season. We
Hmm.
mentioned how the show now felt like what Gilligan and Gould had planned on doing at the start when they wanted Jimmy to become Saul in season one.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's just kind of why I was thinking of Succession and Saul, because now
Right.
we know that Logan was meant to die in season one, and then the rest of the show was meant to be what we're going to watch over these 6 or 7
Hmm.
episodes.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So the only thing that really jumped out to me in the New York bit was when Roman is quite eager to say, "Shall we get Shiv?" Is the look that Kendall gives him. He agrees, but it's almost like, "Oh yeah,
Like, do
I
we
guess
really
we
need to
should
do
do that."
that? Do we want to do that?
Yeah,
Do
do
we
we actually
care?
want to do that?
Already
But yeah, that
becoming
was
his
just the
father.
main thing. And then from I think on rewatch, I'm like, I can already see there's a bit of friction between Shiv and Kendall, and when I always pay attention to when the music kicks in, like the theme
Okay.
music, like either it's on what character does it kick in, what they say does it kick in. Um, I've always wondered. I think it was season two that they changed it, because you remember the theme. I think you first see the shot of all the kids, and then there's that shot of Shiv just kind of like reaching her hand out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was in season one. I saw that in season two, so I was just like, what's that doing there? I have no theory. Speaking of theories, actually, I really like that this show continues to surprise me. Like, I don't think I'm not a smart TV watcher. I don't think I'm a good prognosticator, but this show just continues to surprise me, and like in and again, not in like big plot twists, but just like in the character choices he makes, which I'll talk about one later. I'm just like, oh, I didn't know you were gonna zag there. I thought you were gonna zig,
Hmm.
and you've done this, and there's actually obviously a better decision because you're Jesse Armstrong and you have all these writers. You're not me, but I'm just like, I will just you watch a lot of shows. Sorry if you're like me that watches a lot of shows where you know what's gonna happen, if not necessarily like the exact plot points. You know what these
You can
characters are going
anticipate
to do.
beats.
Yes, you know, like what their mindset is like and everything. And I'm just like, oh, this show
Yeah.
continues to surprise me in smart ways. Do you have any thoughts about New York, or should we just get on the plane, the right plane, not the plane that Greg was going to?
Well, the one thing I will add about New York is how like Kendall seems to be a lot like his father. When he's walking into the building and he's told, yeah, these are new faces that are here to help with the transition and stuff, and he's like, okay, great, hello. They can fuck off until I need them, and that's a very Logan thing to do. But
Mhm.
also, it's kind of a very Kendall thing to do. It reminds me of Kendall in season one when he was actually actively working in the business.
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
and it just sort of supports the idea that of how everyone sees him, at least the graybeards, as this guy who's kind of just like playing to playing at work, playing at
Mm.
corporate structure to be like his dad. He's kind of like a discount Logan or mini Logan who's not necessarily doing all the right things. Because Kendall's main issue is he doesn't have like self confidence. Like that's his fatal flaw. He has crippling just lack of self esteem.
But he
So
seems to have it now, and that might be because of the death
he's
of his
getting it.
father.
He's
It seems
getting
like
it,
he's
but I
able to
think
go into his own essentially.
yeah, but I think on some level, he's still on some amount of fake it till you make it. I don't think he's quite there yet. I think he's getting
Mm.
there, but and he's becoming that person. He's on a mission now. I think to become a killer. I think that's
Mhm.
the decision that's made in the
I mean, he's
bathroom. And
making
I
some
mean,
killer choices and decisions, definitely. Yeah.
yeah, and and thanks to the guys who brought that up to us on Twitter. Like when we asked the question, what decision did Kendall make in that bathroom? It really, I think he's just trying to be that killer, and eventually, with people who start to do that, they become that killer without even realizing it, without even being aware that they're not trying anymore. They're just that person. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, on to the plane.
Okay, so over in Norway, um, the Swedes are playing mind games with Waystar Royco. And then
As they should.
we go into the meeting. We go into the meeting between Kendall, Roman, and Lucas Madsen. Why don't
Hmm.
you talk about this? Talk about the business deal that is about to be brokered or broken.
Um, well, the first aspect of this deal really is who's surplus to requirements, hence the title of the episode,
Hmm.
kill list.
Yeah.
I think it's very funny that the Waystar people are finally getting scared of getting fired, especially since, Jerry is
Well,
so
Carl is not
cold and
scared. Carl is just
calculating.
like, yeah, okay, give me my money. I have a Greek island to
Literally,
buy.
Carl is like, okay, yeah. The intimidation is funny, and Hugo is just hilarious in this episode. Like
Hmm.
Fisher Stevens is killing this season. And Kendall trying to deflect Shiv while Roman is taking the job very seriously is also quite funny because Hugo is playing along too. Um, I don't know. With that with that deal, I knew essentially that he would ask for ATN to be added.
Hmm.
Um, 182 per
Would he
share
have
is
asked if
pretty
Logan was
good.
alive?
I think he would have thought through it because they definitely went back and forth. I think the main reason it got this far, honestly, is because Logan might have been the only person that could really handle someone like Matson. I said last week, this is a very difficult person to do business with.
Hmm.
He's extremely volatile, but also very, very precise. He knows exactly what he wants, and his mind games kind of involve being direct, whereas Logan's mind games rely on gaslighting, like kind of like sleight of hand, so to
Hmm.
speak. I think the graybeard reaction is funny because they're obviously excited. The thing is, they have, and I'll speak more on this later, they have this duty to let the shareholders know when an offer that's good is actually made.
Hmm.
And if you recall, when they were going up to the mountain, Kendall was saying that they should ask for 144 per share.
Hmm. Their
This
hope
guy is
was
offering,
148. That was like the
yeah,
most they could get. Yeah.
yeah, and he's offering 182, but ATN has to be part of the deal,
So it's
or
basically
187. Yeah,
offering 40 for ATN.
essentially, yes. He's saying
Mm.
ATN on its own is worth that much. I think he's offering, was it 187? Yeah, 187
187, yeah.
per share. And um, I think someone has asked me before, like, why would he want ATN? And I think the answer for that comes from why Logan would want to keep ATN out of the deal. ATN really is the crown jewel of what these people do.
Hmm.
They make a lot of money from a lot of things, but ATN is how they wield actual power. And, as we like to say here, rich people, especially on Succession, deal in power a lot more than they deal in money. So by holding on to ATN, Logan can maintain his political influence. He can be the quote unquote man of the people that he thinks he is,
Hmm.
despite everything he does and everything he owns. And the graybeards, especially someone like Frank, who is on the board, would definitely be happy with something like that. And I think Roman wants to keep ATN out of it, not because he's necessarily thinking about what should be done. He's thinking
Hmm.
about what his father would want. I think Roman, despite all his pre-grieving, is very, very attuned to keeping Logan's memory alive and ensuring that his wishes are respected. Whereas Kendall, who now believes he should be a killer, is trying other things. Meanwhile, Shiv's exhaustion from um the pregnancy is starting to become very apparent in like the way she looks in scenes when she's quiet and stuff like that. I want, and also how kind of she's being to certain people. I kind of wish she would just tell them she's pregnant, but yeah, I'm starting to think that Roman might be willing to be more of a killer than Kendall at some point, depending on how things go, because I think he's starting to lose patience with a lot of people. But yeah, that's that point where they were discussing that. I had a feeling he would ask for ATN. I
Hmm.
didn't know necessarily that he would do it like this, kind of strong arming them, so to speak. But yeah, I think it's cool that they took a beat to discuss it. Um, but clearly, the brothers are not necessarily on the same page, and I think that in front of someone like Matson, that's dangerous because he can exploit that.
Okay, wait. So when you say that, do you mean in this particular point of the show, or do you mean in the episode in total?
In at that particular point in the
Oh, that
episode.
particular point. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 definitely. Again, one of the things I was surprised because there's a look Kendall shares with Madsen just before they
Hmm.
leave, and I expected that look to happen,
That
but
look is
then what
kind of
I
like, don't
thought
worry, I got him.
exactly, and but then that's not you guys have watched the episode. If you listen to this, that's not what the rest of the episode does. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where it zagged. I was like, oh, that's not. Oh, I thought something else was going to happen here. Um, well, first of all, let's just shout out. We're going to talk about Shiv a bit later, but let's just shout out Shiv. I love a woman who is not willing to let a little thing like a pregnancy again in the way of the scotch at night.
Bro. I was like, I know you're drinking apple juice. That is apple juice you are
So
drinking
the
because you're
first sip,
20 weeks pregnant.
the first sip, I was like, oh, that's not a real sip. But I wasn't sure if it was like not a real sip because she actually wasn't drinking, or it was not a real sip because that's what acting you get. When you're acting, you don't really actually
Yeah.
drink and eat because you're doing so many takes.
But
But then she
yeah,
had
but even the
another sip
smell
that
of that
was
stuff
that
could
was
make
a
her
real
nauseous.
sip, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a real sip. But at least she didn't do the cocaine. At least that one is
Yeah.
fine.
When
She
you
didn't do
offered
the
her the cocaine, I
cocaine.
was like, okay, please. Let's
Um,
be guided.
well, but yeah, I mean, I think just I I think Logan obviously wanted ATM because that's what Logan loves. Logan loves news. Logan,
Yeah.
that's how he came up. Not even probably that's how he came up. Same
Hmm.
way Murder could have come up with
Newspapers.
newspapers and stuff like that. I think Logan came up doing news, and that's what he loves. He loves shaping, like you said, shaping the narrative. And as Shiv even mentioned in the karaoke bar, like he says it and then it becomes true. However, I do think Madsen wants ATN to fuck them. I think he wants ATN because he knows it's an emotional, it's a salt topic. I don't
You
think
don't think he has any strategic
like
thoughts in that? Is like he
I
wants to
think he
have a
can.
hand in American politics, or he wants the money that can come from the insane readings that they get.
I don't no. Like I think eventually he
This is
can,
all
but
just a game.
no, I think that he's going to get it and make it work. And like I said, they have plans. But I think the initiating thought is like, how do we like stick one to them? And then after we've got ATN,
Why does he even
he's a
want to do that?
capitalist. He's like, after we got ATN, how do we make it work? And the fact that he's making it work involves basically stripping it down, shows you how much he really doesn't care about ATN. Like,
Yeah, hence the kill
so
list,
yeah, so I think the inciting thought was, what can we do to really, really, really like screw them?
which is something Logan would do, by the way. He's
Yeah,
told
yeah,
Roman
and then it
before,
makes
like,
sense
you
because
screw them until, like, if it's an easy deal, then you haven't done it right,
yeah, because
according to him.
Martin called them. Yeah, was it season one? Was like he's smiling. If he's smiling, there's no good deal.
Yeah.
Martin called Kendall 4 days ago and told him not to fuck with the deal, and then Kendall fucks with the deal. So he's not happy with these people. Like, so I think he's doing it from an emotional point of view.
Meanwhile, he's saying he wants things to happen very, very fast.
Hmm. And then we hear
Kind
that
of
he's the one that's
confusing
been
there.
delaying things so far.
Yeah.
I did like a lot of the communication bits because again, you're kind of looking for Kendall to either backstab Roman or lie to Roman or hide. But like I like kind of there was some subtle communications they had, like when they're walking towards the Greybeards. I think Roman is like say it or tell them or something like that, and then Kendall just like says say it. Like they're not like they're moving on equal footing. So that was quite interesting to me. Um, but then that leads to what the main thing when I said the show surprises me. The main zag that surprised me was Kendall telling Roman that he wanted to fuck up the deal. I did not expect that. I thought it was going to be something that happened as backstabbing. And it's interesting because Ibuka was talking to me
Hmm.
about last week's episode, and he mentioned that he found it striking that everyone was saying what they actually meant and what
Which
they
doesn't
actually
normally happen in
wanted.
succession, right?
Yes, and I was like, and we're like, because once Logan dies, everyone feels free to actually say what they mean and what is on their mind, A-
Crazy.
and
Well
that then
said, Ibuka.
directly translates to this thing in Kendall actually telling Roman, "This is what I want to do. Come on board with me." Like I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be Logan will be having that conversation with Matson that Shiv was having. I'm like, okay, let's do this. How do we get this done behind Roman's back? So that was quite surprising to me. That was like I was like, oh, this is not the character move I expected.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, what do you think of that conversation between Roman and Kendall?
I just kept wondering, is this a good idea?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're saying you want to
What?
kill the deal so you can
Okay,
run the
killing the
ship.
deal is killing the deal.
Yeah.
About it. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Like, you want to do it so you can run the ship. Is that even a good idea? Can you run the ship? You're not confident that you can do it. You want to take this massive, massive behemoth of a thing and try to steer it just to prove to somebody who is no longer alive that you can, while everyone's lives are at stake. So it's interesting that he would do that, especially since anything could go wrong. If they keep ATN, if they keep everything, like they just said, let's just keep Waystar as it is. What then happens? There's so many people who are not going to be happy with that. The reason they started thinking of deals in the first place was because every single deal in this show has led to the next, right? You had Volta, then
Mm-hmm.
eventually you had a bunch of things that then led to the vote of no confidence. From there was, the bear hug, and then the bear hug really defined how the series went for a little while because they were
Mm-hmm.
fighting Sandy and Stewie. Those were the guys, right? But now this deal is making those guys happy. And if it goes away, are we going to go back to them fighting Sunny and Stewie? It's a weird dynamic that could result in from them removing the deal because there's so many things that I'm not sure that they can actually handle. And like I said, Roman is trying to do the deal for Logan's sake. I guess he's easier to convince because of that. But he asks, "We're selling. Have we won or lost?" Like it's kind of hard to tell because the Roy family's thing is always we should keep it. We don't want to keep the power or whatever. That was always because
Mm-hmm.
that was always Logan's thing.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't feel he was winning unless he was owning, which is why everybody felt he would never sell. And now he's selling, which is great because they're getting a fantastic payday, but they're losing control of the company. So have they won or lost? And I think that's why I'm asking, like, is this a good or a bad idea? Can they actually run the ship? I'm not entirely sure that they can run everything. In fact, on some level, the opposite could be true as well because maybe they'd be better at running things because I don't know that anybody present in the current group can actually run ATN. I feel like Kendall and Roman would be better at running the rest of Waystar and having people work under them managing all its different assets than ATN. Like ATN is a very
Well, I don't
delicate
think they
beast.
would run it yet. I mean, Logan had said I think they would have someone. Um,
I mean, yeah, I guess they'd own it. They kind of just become more like PGN. They become like the Pierces who just own a news company rather than a giant conglomerate. I mean, Pierce is a conglomerate in itself,
wait, do you
but
mean if the deal
they,
fell through or if the deal went through?
if the deal went through, like if they
Oh
decided
yeah, yeah.
to,
Oh yes, oh yeah. Oh no, in that case, yes.
yeah,
No, in that case, I think they want the original idea was to run PS and then to
yeah.
run PS and ATN
So then they
like
combine the
them in
two news
charge. Yeah.
companies, which again insane. But but yeah, like I don't know if it's something that they can actually do. So we'll have to see.
Hmm.
Because it's hard to tell if they'll actually win from something like this, and whether they can actually fend off Matson. If they keep the deal, like, can Matson continue to come after them in other ways? Like, can he set things up? And you know,
Well, I mean, okay, their plan was for Matson to pull out, like for Matson to feel like it wasn't a smart deal. Like
mhm.
the Hollywood studio was putting the company in jeopardy. Like there are too many skeletons. That was their plan. We're going to talk about their plan in a second. It was incredibly transparent and quite terrible. But their plan was not for Martin to feel like he was fucked, but for Martin to feel like he was a smart person leaving the deal. So on paper, their plan made sense. One of the
But they did it
funniest
so
lines
badly that like
was terrible. One of the, I mean, I did like the fact that they made all his employees watch a clearly bad movie for 3 hours just so that they could all be like, yeah, this movie is terrible. One of the funniest lines to me was Kendall saying, I like running the ship. We are good at it. And I was like, Kendall, you've been CEO for 12 hours. Like, not even, that's not even a joke. Like,
we're good at
literally
it.
12
What
hours.
do you
Like,
mean we're good at
it's
it?
Monday in America. Like, maybe it's Tuesday in Norway, but like, literally, your dad died 48 hours ago. Like, it's still Monday. You've been
Nah,
CEO for 12 hours. Calm
this
down.
is like somebody who spent 5 minutes in a car with a driving instructor saying, "Okay, great, I'm just gonna get on the highway and drive to Texas."
Yeah,
What are you doing?
it's just, I was like, kind of calm down. Like, if we add when you were CEO in season one and now, it's still not up to 3 weeks. Like, calm down. Let's behave ourselves. But yeah, just back to what Ibuka said about people saying things like Roman saying, the Roman actually saying the words, yeah, let's end the deal, or whatever version of that sentence he made, was just very surprising to me. Again, I didn't think that Roman would be convinced in that conversation.
Yeah,
But
I thought it
like
would take more time.
everyone is saying what they mean, and everyone is like being upfront to their stuff. Um I mean, Shiv saying let's hold on to one of your dad's sweaters is less racist is hilarious, man. Um
That was great. That was actually so great.
and then I mean, Shiv was just ready to get rid of ATS. She didn't even ask the price. She was just like, yes, please get rid of this
It
toxic
doesn't
piece of
align
shit.
with her own
Like,
sensibilities. It never
hmm
has.
hmm okay, so let's take the cable car, take the helicopter, and go up to the hills since we're still there in terms of Martin and everybody. So
Yeah.
these guys are trying to emphasize the problems with Waystar Royco. Either it's with the Hollywood studio or people just maybe just things coming down the pipeline essentially. Um and Martin, because he's not an idiot, very, very quickly sees through everything. Also, I'm sorry, Martin saying thanks for the link. I watched the movie was hilarious because I was like, you did not watch that 3 hour movie. Stop lying.
3 hours. Oh
Stop lying.
God.
3 hours. So the first 2 hours is what a robot sleeping or something along those lines.
Yeah,
The
these guys
plot of
have
this
such a
movie
weird
is,
track record with movies.
but yeah. So they try to blow up the deal. Martin sees through it. He kind of calls them out on it. Says that they're
Mhm.
doing Scooby Doo business. They went to Hanna
Are you
Barbera
trying to
School of
Scooby Doo me?
Business.
Skarsgård is so
Maybe,
great.
are you going to tell me that the tunnel is haunted? And he calls Logan a prick, which on rewatch, I start to see just how annoyed. I mean, I guess it's what you were saying about Roman losing patience, but how annoyed Roman was with Madsen, like from the
Yeah,
start
just
of the
really
episode.
watch him. It's not good. Yeah,
Like
he's like
the
this guy is
hog.
pushing his buttons.
Yeah, he doesn't even tell him sorry when he found out about his dad dying. Like it's just it's very. I was
The
like,
fact that he
oh,
brought them here this
mhm.
week of all
The
weeks
day
is.
after or whatever. Yeah.
I'm glad someone acknowledged it. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect someone to acknowledge it at
Well,
all.
I mean, they kind of acknowledged it last week when they were like, "You do." She was like, "You do know what happened yesterday, right?" And Oscar is like, "Yeah, that's sad." So tomorrow, I was like, "Okay."
Bro, honestly, I guess
Is
pre-grieved
Oscar the
isn't
one
exactly.
that was in
I think
Vikings?
it might be. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure the name of the character. Well, I know that
Did
there's
he
an
have a
Oscar.
beard? Well, I was gonna say, did he have a beard? But like, I think they all
Yeah,
had beards.
he did. Ugh. I have to find his name, but I know that there's an Oscar, and I know that there's a guy I saw, and I'm not entirely sure that they're the same person. I don't know if Oscar
Oh
is
yeah,
someone we
no,
haven't
fair,
seen, but I
fair.
think they're probably the same person because he was so close to Matson in this
Yeah,
episode.
Oscar was
Even
like
when Tom
Matson's
was,
number two.
yeah, even when Tom is trying to clown Sundar Pichai for no apparent reason. For anyone for anyone who doesn't know, Sundar Pichai is the CEO of Google, but yeah, that was just random. But yeah, I guess pre-grieved isn't exactly as well adjusted as we thought because
I mean, he
in
mentioned it.
tr-
He said it. He was like, "Look, I'm here. I'm all the way here." Like, okay, let's talk about that. So, Martin antagonizes Roman a bit more, and then
Mhm.
Roman kind of loses his shit
Yeah,
and goes all out
I
on
yeah, and I
Martin.
think coming from Matson was probably the exact kind of language we needed there because I feel like Matson would rather have some deal than no deal, right? That was my first feeling there. That's like, okay, they need to kind of be aggressive with this. However, when they're on the plane going back,
Hmm.
upon hearing 192, I really, really just laughed because that is simply, like, clearly and simply an act of war because it's a bear hug.
You
Like
can't not accept it. Yeah,
you see this, right? Like this is a
yeah.
bear hug, just like
Hmm.
what happened in season one, because um obviously these people all have a quote unquote fiduciary duty to
Hmm.
their shareholders above all else. So if a
Hmm.
deal comes that is really, really good, they have to present it. From there, it's not like, okay, how do we prevent this from happening? Blah, blah, blah. That's how they now started fighting Sandy and Stewie in the earlier seasons.
Yeah.
But with a bear hug like this, I mean, Waystar is supposedly, it's actually worth maybe right now, like, I don't know, 140. They're asking for 144,
Or
hoping for
140 per share.
148. Yeah. Yeah, they're asking, and I remember like in the previous episode we did when we were talking for season three when we were talking about their time on Josh Aronson's island, played by the great Adrian Brody. By my estimates at that time, and based on Aronson's share in the company, I feel like Waystar is slightly north of $87.5 billion in general valuation.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, if we say that that is 140 per share, that kind of makes sense, especially since they had that deal with the bank that Logan leveraged in season one that we found out about, right? When the
Hmm.
stock hits a certain point, when it gets low enough to a certain point, they're going to want payment in full. But they're past that now.
Hmm.
Now they're back to like
Still
that
irritated.
steady 140, 141 ish, right?
Hmm.
They want 148, they're asking for 144. This guy first offered 187 and now he's asking for 192. There is no way. It's literally like he says, okay, you're saying that you're not going to sell to me, right? You're going to kill the deal. Fine. I will make it so that you have to sell to me and then I'm going to laugh in your face.
Yeah.
It is such an act of war that could only have been pulled off by Matson. That is too funny. And it's because he has tech money. That's literally
He
it.
does have
Like
tech
he has
money.
tech money. He's
He
just
has
playing
tech
with them
money.
at this point. And that's
He has
proven by,
Spotify money.
yeah, literally. And he's asking Shiv for a photo of their faces just moments later. And look, just watch how dead they look. This is like the most amazing offer of their lives. Anybody who hears them trying to say, let's keep ATN off the table, will probably try to slap them. It's like, nah, you hit your head. Let me hit it for
Hmm.
you again. Because because that is such an insanely good deal, which is why obviously I'm referring to it as a bear hug, and they're just so sad about it because now they're like, how are we going to actually fight this? Like they're drinking like someone actually just died. I mean, someone did die, but not in this case. And it confirms what I've been saying about, like, the whole money versus power thing, because this is a big dick contest in actuality, and Matson is currently swinging around the biggest dick.
Already rich. If there's an easier way to explain the entire show, that is it. It's just already like
Already rich.
getting richer is not my priority here. I'm already rich. Um
Carl even says they raided the Vikings. Oh, Carl.
yeah, but like so because this deal is a great deal for everyone but Kendall and Roman. And
Yep.
that's just be and for like
And it's the
honestly,
funny thing is, it's great for them financially.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
And if
great
I
for
was
them
Kendall, like
financially.
you'd be like, Kendall, just fucking suck it up, man. Like 12 hours ago you were gonna make this deal. Like just but then obviously things have happened. Roman has gone out. It's basically like saying, I'm going to kill you, and then you turn around and the person you're gonna like he's just like
He's actually killing
he's
you.
like, I'm better than you have. I have won. I have literally won. Um okay, so let's talk about before we wrap up here, let's talk about Shiv
Okay.
and Matson. Um focusing on Shiv particularly, again, like I told you guys, I'm not a smart watcher of TV. I cannot decipher Sarah Snook's facial acting. Like she just does this, and I'm like, I do not know what that means. I do not know what that look is meant to mean. Like, are you angry? Are you scheming? Are you sad? Like, have
She's
two
troubled.
two scenes: the one in New York, and then the one on the plane. I'm just like, what are you trying to say with your face? That is it. That I don't. It's like the Mona Lisa. I'm like, I cannot read this look, and I think I have it on my notes that like on Succession, the conversations you don't hear are usually just as intriguing as the ones you do hear. Like I'm
Hmm.
just like, what happened between Shiv and Martin after we left them? Like, what did they talk about? What did they say? What deals did they make?
Yeah.
Because
What did
Shiv
they
has
agree on?
this when the 192 is announced, Shiv has this air of something. And I was like, oh, Shiv thinks that she was one that convinced him to add more money because of their conversation the night before. But then when he calls her and asks for the picture, I'm like, oh, maybe that's not why she has the air. Maybe she has the air because she actually was in on the idea, in on the plan. Maybe her and Martin actually had a plan. Because this deal is
Huh.
perfect for Shiv. Like
It
she gets rid
is.
of ATN, she gets to work with PGN, she gets the money. Her brothers who were trying to fuck her lose. Like we'll talk about the whole
And
Tom thing in a second. But like this
yeah.
deal works for her. And again, remember she chooses not to sell out Matson when they ask, "Do you have any dirt on him?" And then Ebba obviously walks by, and she chooses not to say anything. So I'm just like,
The Eba
what?
thing. Oh, bro.
What? But you
Just
haven't sent blood? You haven't sent half a liter of blood to people that you like?
yeah, I would just like the feds listening to know that I definitely have not done that. My goodness.
Oh, he's so funny in that
What?
scene. He's so, and obviously, if
When he
you've
said it
seen,
was Eba, I started screaming.
oh, I knew. Like before he said it, I was like, he's going to say Emma. He's about to say Emma. Like that was just the perfect joke. I was like, he just said that she doesn't let him in like 5 minutes before he's about to say Emma. That's so obvious.
Yo.
And like if you've seen Skarsgård in other things, probably Atlanta season 3, you know that this is a very funny person. So the way he says it's almost like, yeah, I did this, and obvious like it's almost like he doesn't necessarily see like it's bad, but it's not that bad. Like him saying, "Oh, I'll just deny it." I was like, bro, she has probably the strongest piece of evidence anyone has
Oh.
ever had. Like it's literally your blood. You're saying you just deny it and lawyer it. And she was like, first of all, good one. I was just like, this is so funny. It was like,
Like,
great
what does
joke.
that even mean?
No, she was like, no, because he was like, he was trying to be funny. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry, that was a great joke, just in case I did tell you.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so that scene ends, I think, immediately after he says she's just like Logan, that she can take a joke, which again,
It's
on
like
a
I like you.
normal day,
You're not judgy. You're like the, which by the way she and I said out loud when I was watching that she is judgy. She's the judgiest of the judgies. Like she is the judgiest,
um,
literally. But sure, Lucas, she's not
yeah, and
judgy. She's just like
if you
Logan.
tell Shiv that you're just like Logan, that's what she wants to hear.
That's what she wants. Yeah.
She believes she's just like Logan, and so the scene ending there makes me think like, what did they talk about after? Did they have sex? I don't know.
I hope not, because that would actually complicate so many things. But yeah.
Yeah, but he was probably wearing his headphones and listening to podcasts. Hopefully, this podcast because that's a thing that he fucking
Oh
does. What a
my
man!
god.
What
What?
a
What?
man! Can you
That dude
imagine
is a
just having
wild
sex?
animal.
He's just having sex with this women, and all they're seeing is just this man wearing headphones and listening to podcasts. That's so, that's so,
I can't. I just can't.
that's so funny. I'm sorry. Anyways, yeah. What do you think of the Shiv and Martin? Before we talk about Shiv and Tom and end the episode, what do you think of Shiv and Martin? It seems like you didn't think what I was thinking, like about them working together. That seems like that news to you.
Yeah, I think honestly that, well, first of all, I thought the hearing that she is like her dad must have made her pretty happy.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um and I think she honestly was just enjoying talking to somebody who felt like they were being real with her, because I feel like gaslighting her is turning out to be quite fun for Kendall and some of these other people, because even Greg has joined now. Like Greg is really out here saying, "Oh no, that wasn't us. I didn't like." It's weird how everybody's being so strange towards her,
Mm-hmm.
and I wondered why he was telling her all this stuff about Ebba. right? Like, are you trying to endear yourself? Are you trying to say what you're capable of? Are
Mm-hmm.
you like, are you trying to like, I don't know whether it was like just gist or threats, but I definitely figured that they had built some kind of rapport based on what happened on the plane when he asked for that picture, but it didn't. I didn't really feel like she was in on it, but I do think that's a possibility based on the way you've explained your thought process.
Yeah. Two things. We should also mention that Shiv is more vulnerable to Matson in that scene than probably she's been to her brothers, excluding when their dad died.
Yeah, it felt like she was
Because
telling
she
the truth.
says she says to him about Tom, I broke his heart and he broke my heart. And essentially we're both
Yeah,
sad. I don't think she's ever been that accountable to anyone else about her relationship with Tom.
she accepted her own part in the problem,
Hmm.
like actually admitted wrongdoing. I'm pretty sure that's never happened regarding Tom,
Yeah, and I think that's what
not even
triggers
towards Tom.
that's what triggers Skarsgård, to be honest, and be like, well, do you want to hear about what I did in my romantic relationship?
Bro, like first of all, half a leader repeatedly. I know I said he's a wild animal, but
It's so
he's
funny.
still moving. Like he
He
was
said,
still able to function. Like
he said it was funny, and then it stopped being funny, and then it became
then it
funny
was
again,
funny
and then
again.
now it's no longer funny
It's
because.
definitely not funny.
And then
Like
when you know that and you're rewatching the episode and you see,
how Ebba is interacting and she's like, yeah,
yes,
I have dirt. And you're like, oh, yeah, I'm sure she has dirt. She's head of comms. Then you realize that she has dirt that she didn't even need to ask for. She didn't need to look for that one.
because on one hand, it plays off like the normal kind of succession joke of like, oh, if you keep on, like Jerry would say, like, if you keep on doing that, I'll report you to HR or whatever. But then you're like,
Yeah.
oh, no, no, she really does hate this guy. Because he's like, oh, you love it. And she's like, yeah, I love it. And walks away. I was like, oh, she's not like doing succession jokes. She's actually being serious. She actually
She's,
hates this
yeah, like the writing was too good on that. And
guy. Yeah,
what the
so
actress portrayed it so well.
yes, I think obviously Shiv is quite not emotional, vulnerable to Matt in that scene. And then because I was like, why would Shiv take a picture to send to Martin? Because Shiv is meant to think that Kendall and Roman want the deal. So the only reason
Hmm.
she sees them as being sad is if she knows that they were trying to sabotage the deal, which is why I think there was some discussion between Martin and Shiv. But it is painting
Yeah.
to me, it's looking like a Kendall versus Shiv kind of situation. Which
Yeah.
obviously makes sense because they were the two heirs. They were the two people that were chosen by Logan at different points this show
Yeah.
to be the heir. So it's kind of looking like a
Yeah.
Shiv versus
Connor's too busy
Kendall.
thinking about kilts at the moment. So I'm not sure we can actually worry about him.
Yeah, we'll talk about Connor different. I think
Some other day.
I think Connor's relevance was probably one to set up the funeral, but also
Uh-huh.
I think that picture. I was going to mention. I think that picture, Roman getting that picture, sends him. It starts
Yeah.
the descent for him to be so volatile towards Matt. If
Hmm.
that picture doesn't come on, he probably keeps his cool
Yeah.
and everything. Also, I wonder. I don't think they would do this because Succession kind tends to move on very quickly. If that makes sense. Like, there's
Yeah.
a world
They
or
don't
there's a
dwell on
different
points
show
too much.
where Kendall holds Roman responsible for Matson coming with 192 because Roman is the one that triggered it. But I don't know if the show will kind of dwell on that. Okay, before
We'll
we
see.
wrap up, should we just talk about Shiv and Tom in what is probably the most outwardly depiction of like their toxicity I think I've ever seen on the show. Like a lot of the things have been said. This is the first time that you actually seen them be like, oh, you guys are not great to each other.
Yeah, it's like because there's a mountain scene and then there's a plain scene, and I'm not sure which one is weirder, to be honest.
So let's go in order. First of all, the mountain scene is Shiv. And then again on rewatch, you realize that the first time they were on the plane, like the night, when Shiv goes by and sees Tom, she looks at his shoes, and because of the way he's sitting, like the production design, everything, cinematography, there's a
Hmm.
spotlight on his shoes, so they look
Yeah,
whiter than they actually are. So like that anger has been building up, and then she says people are coming down from Molly, and and your shoes look like the sun to them, which is just the. But again, so it's a very because she says this is why people don't take you seriously. Your shoes are so fucking white. And on one to people like you and I, to normals, to plebs, it's like a very
mm,
weird insult, right? But then it reminds you that like these guys, again, Kendall, Shiv, whatever, they they are already rich.
Yep.
Tom is cosplaying rich. He's trying to be rich. Like, if you look at
He's
Greg
rich
from
enough compared to you and I guess. But yes,
yeah, if you
he's
look at
not.
Greg
He's not
season
quite.
one to
He's not
now,
exactly rich yet.
yeah, you don't know the things to wear, and like Thomas obviously had to lead Greg. That scene in season one comes to mind where it's like, are we on the deck of a sea vessel? Why are you wearing
Yeah.
boat shoes? So like he's learning, he's teaching Greg, but he's also learning. But people like Shiv and them, they're not learning because this is their life. So he might not know
Hmm.
that his shoes are too white, but they probably are for people that are that
Yeah.
rich. It's like the thing with the bag. Greg doesn't know the bag is bad, but Tom, because Tom is more experienced, knows that the bag is too big and things like that. So it makes sense as an insult. And then, so she says, "These are people don't take you seriously. Your shoes are too wide." I think that obviously would attack the chip on his shoulder, the imposter syndrome in Tom. And then he lashes out by flicking her ear and saying, first of, sorry, I wrote it down. Let me find it. Your earlobes are thick and chewy, like barnacle meat.
What? Like what? What combination of words? I just,
So before, okay, so let's
that was
let's go to the
something.
plane, which is the next scene they share. But can I just say that before that scene, I was just thinking, I was like, these guys probably had the hottest sex they've ever had. That was what I was thinking about two of them. But you laugh, everybody, you laugh. But it was vindicated on the plane scene. Like
Yeah.
she asks him out
Yeah.
to dinner.
Yeah.
Like
She
she,
did.
him
I
flicking her
saw that and I
ear
was like,
was
okay.
probably the most attractive he's been to her in a very long time. I'm sorry, listeners, if
Uh.
you guys didn't know, these are not two healthy people. They are very, very unhealthy.
Yeah, they're not. They're not. There's a lot going on with them for sure. And that's even. I mean, it's so interesting that something like that can stand out in an episode like this.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows you what like their toxicity is because obviously there's all the stuff happening in Matson. There's grown people getting outrageously excited about a sauna. Like I don't know if I've seen anybody get that excited about a sauna since like I don't know, maybe an episode of Ed, Ed and Eddy. Like
Yes.
it was just interesting to see that. So good, I guess.
That was probably
But
another like mental thing against them, like to fuck with the waystar Royco people. I
yeah,
would I
but
wouldn't put
then
it
it's
past
like
past the Swedes.
yeah, still though, um, kind of mess in vein with in vein of messing with them. I think Shiv like offering Sid's head on a platter is interesting because
Mm-hmm.
that then brings us into the actual thing is it's interesting that Succession actually rewarded us for sticking out the episode till the end and like gave us the kill list
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I mean it had everyone I expected it to.
I mean, he had
um
everyone except Jerry and
lit-
Carolina.
yeah, it had everyone except the women because
Ooh.
Matson is scared of firing women now because of Eba.
But so is he going to keep both Carolina and Ebba?
I guess right now that's what it's looking like. I
Because
think he'll
I
find a
hope he
way to
wasn't trying
make
to say
them.
that he's sacking Ebba to keep Carolina, because that would be
He
a
can't
terrible,
try it.
terrible decision.
I think maybe Carolina will report to Eba,
Mm.
or
So Carolina
they
will
will
take
manage. They'll
Hugo's
manage two different parts of the business. Maybe
fair,
Carolina will manage the waystar part, and then Eba will continue doing what she's doing.
fair.
But it's always funny to me how Hugo is so shamelessly looking for Carolina's head to roll. Like this
Yeah,
is his
because if she
boss.
leaves, he's
Like,
next up. He's below us.
and why
So
does he? So why does he want her head to? Still though, I get you. Like he will be next up, but
yeah.
it may
Oh
not
no,
work
I think
exactly
when
as
he
he
finds
thinks.
out that his own head is rolling, he wants people to go
And then
down
he's
with
looking
him.
for
He's
Carolina.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. At
I
least let
mean,
me know that they took everybody. So that scene is interesting
yeah.
because
Tom and
the thing
Greg
about
are good,
Succession
sure.
is that you never know what is just a random thing for that scene or what actually means something. Do you get what I mean? Because in that
Yeah.
scene, I think Carolina says that Jess found a way to get the list, or Jerry says that. And then
Hmm.
Carolina and Jess share a look in which Carolina mouths something to Jess. And then Frank looks at Jess, but Jess stops mouthing when yeah, there's a whole bit of
I tried so hard
choreography
to
there.
figure out what that was. Yeah,
Yeah. So I don't know if that was just for this scene and never again, or was that something larger? I have no idea. But it
it's
did it
hard to
did
say.
look like there was a bit of choreography there. Yeah, you mentioned it. Shiv surprises Tom by saying that they want to get rid of Sid, which obviously means Tom goes up. Um, and then she asks Tom to dinner,
Hmm.
and then she gets the call from Martin. So it's just like, yeah, no one really knows
Clockwork that we
what's
don't
going on with those
understand.
guys.
But yeah, I feel like before we and now that we're thinking about the kill list and the structure, I've had I've had quite a lot of thoughts about what the company will look like going forward, because I think the show is kind of reacquainting us with certain pieces that are going to be important, and
Okay.
I feel like that starts with Marsha. So I think that we need
Mm-hmm.
to kind of rehash certain things, right? Let's think about the family trust,
Did they
right?
ever sign? Does she have two votes? Did they ever sign that?
So that's what I want to get into,
I don't think they
right?
signed it.
Now, for anyone who doesn't remember, in the very first episode of the show, Logan very casually comes and says, "Yeah, I want to add Marsha to to the family trust." Now, putting that into like kind of like a more overarching view, the trust kind of owns the holding company. Like there is a family trust that owns the family holding company, and then that holding company owns essentially Waystar Rico, and that trust is managed by a trustee. That's why I've said before that the Roys own the company that owns the company that owns Waystar. Now, everybody, the people on that trust are kind of an interesting bunch, because like, well, first of all, that trust protects the family's assets in any situation where they get sued or the company gets sued, essentially separating the art from the artist, as it were, in a legal sense. And it's very appropriate for these people who are constantly getting into trouble and behaving very badly, right? So it's like someone once said, regular people set up wills and rich people set up trusts. So trusts are kind of managed by trustees, like I said, and there are beneficiaries. So Logan wanted to add Marsha as a beneficiary to the trust. And then he said that his seat on the board of the trust, not necessarily of Waystar, of the trust, would go to her on his death. That's what he wanted them to sign. Now, Kendall signed it without looking, right? So there was one signature on there. But and Connor said, I'll just do whatever you guys do. Roman and Shiv were like, I'm gonna lawyer up, because that's kind of weird that you want to do that. The trust currently has Logan and all his kids, um, and it also has Caroline Collingwood. However, after Marcia found out about Rhea Jarrell at the end of at the end of season 2, and she comes back at the start of season 3, and like she was sitting down with somebody who was managing assets, and Logan said he felt like a million leaving his body
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time he looked in that direction. One of the things she said was that, like, one of her demands to kind of come back and keep quiet and keep everything, kosher, was that her role on the trust be finalized. So I don't know if she's fully a beneficiary, but they might
Oh.
have gotten her that voting power on the trust. And if they did that, there's going to be a serious problem. And I think that's why the show is very, very subtly showing us Greg cozying up to Marsha, because they've
Yeah.
always had a bit of a rapport. And I think Greg, because he's been talking to Ewan, he keeps saying he's been talking to Ewan, and he's mentioning his grandfather, and everybody's dismissing him. But Greg talking to Ewan is very important, because Ewan has probably advised him, despite his disappointment with Greg, right, that he should be where the power lies. And the power right now lies with Marsha, because if they were able to give her that voting power, then she has a seat as a beneficiary, and she has double voting power on the board. So if they try to do a super majority against her, she has enough power to make that go through. And that's just, the holding company. Now, like I said, they own the company that owns the company that owns Waystar. So if we talk about Waystar now, that board, like this proverbial board we keep hearing about in recent episodes that they're going to take the decision to, right? That is Ewan, Kendall, Roman, Frank, Logan, who is dead now, but Logan, Stewie, Lawrence, Ilona, the person that Kendall went to the other side of New York to talk
Yeah.
to, and
The
that
Jersey.
made him
Yeah.
miss that made him miss the vote of no confidence.
Sandy.
And Asha, yeah, Sandy as well. Asha, the only black woman in power in this show,
Yeah.
other
I
than
think Shiv
Sonali
has a
Lathan's
seat as
character.
well. I think Shiv has a seat as
And
well.
yeah, I was gonna get there, because like
Oh
in
yeah.
episode
Okay.
305, there are three more seats, right? Let's say there are 12 seats on the board now, so there are three more seats, and basically at the end of the vote of no confidence, Logan immediately fired Ilona, Asha, Kendall, and Frank, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Frank and Kendall came back. Ilona and Asha are um, ostensibly gone still, so that left two seats, right? And to add to Stewie. So that's Sandy. And then in episode 305, when they were having the shareholder meeting, when Logan was kind of like, having his urinary tract
Piss mad.
infection or
Yeah,
whatever that
yeah.
was. Yeah. He pissed mad. That's good. He
Well, I
well,
didn't write
Shiv,
it.
this
That was Jesse Armstrong. I'm not going to take
still
credit
that
for it.
fair enough. Shiv decided that they would that to sweeten the deal and to kind of build a relationship with Sandy the younger, she would offer an additional board seat, so they would have three. But that deal also included a board seat for herself. So now Shiv is on the board. So as of, let's say, the episode where Logan died, right? Every member of the Roy family is on the board except, like, of Waystar, except Connor. Like, as far as we're talking about Logan and his children, Caroline isn't on it. Connor's mom isn't on it. Marsha isn't on it. But as far as Waystar is concerned, that's the board, and it has all the kids. So when they keep saying, "Oh, we're going to take this decision for who to recommend to the board," most of the board is actually already in the room, right? Jerry isn't on the board, I don't think, but she does have a bit of sway, and Frank has a lot of sway because, well, he's on the board, and I think he was one of the chair people. So the board right now should actually be 13 people and 12 now that Logan is dead. So here's my thing. Logan is dead now, right? And we said that if Marsha had played her cards right with strong arming these people, his seat would have gone to her on his death. But the thing is, Waystar is a publicly traded company, so she can't really just inherit a seat on the board or give it to, like, that her son. I feel like people forget Marsha has a son. His name is Amir. I think he's in charge of, like, the Middle Eastern operations or something like that.
Hmm, hmm.
Um, but, like, she probably has the power to leverage um the fact that she, like, her voting power now that she's actually on the trust, because the trust is managed by the trustee, and that trustee really is like a shell company that is the family, and the trust does whatever the trustee tells it to. And that trust now, if Marsha has a lot of power inside it, can actually influence who ends up getting that board seat. And even if that's not enough leverage, the thing I'm worried about is that she can leverage something else that she has that nobody else knows she has, except, I guess, you and I and everybody else paying attention to the show. She knows about the waiter. She was there in the room in season 1, episode 10, when Logan calls Kendall, and he comes in.
Yeah.
Marsha and her
Amir
son are
knows as
sitting
well.
there. Yeah, they were both sitting there, and that is a problem,
Do you
right?
know who
That's a
else
big
knows?
problem. Other than Colin, who?
Well, Colin, because and Colin was talking to her last week as well or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you know who doesn't know? Connor. Connor doesn't know. That's a very good breakdown, and that makes sense. Yeah. Marsha has a role to play. That is definitely for certain. Marsha
Yeah,
has a role to play.
I've been saying it. Like, they brought her back, and Carolyn is on the trust, and she is a voting member. But because of, like, I mean, honestly, whatever happens, these people are all beneficiaries. They are going to be rich. So and they're already rich, as we've said, right? So even in the case of a sale, as we're seeing with the Matin and Gojo situation, based on the company's valuation, what they're asking for, and even what we saw in the birthday letter that Roman and Logan gave Kendall, each person's payout would be around $2 billion, if not more. And that doesn't even include the stuff that the holding company owns outside of Waystar. So everybody's going to be fine. This is really just a big dick contest at this point.
Yeah. Well done, Carl. You finally get your island. Um, no, I think that's a good. I think that's a good point to end it. Yeah, that's a good breakdown. I mean, I'm hoping next week is the bear funeral. And, like, how long are they going to wait for
I
the
feel like it
funeral?
would be,
Yeah.
and then they might reveal things about, like, what Marsha and, like, certain other people are planning.
Mhm.
Um, we'll just have to see, because all these tiny conversations people are having is definitely not an accident. I mean, this show really knows how to use its Chekhov's guns.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the show do birthdays, we've seen the show do weddings, we've seen the show do weird
Funerals as well.
presentations about being in the press industry, journalist industry for a while. But we've not seen a
Hmm.
funeral. I don't think we've seen a funeral.
We have. There was Mo's funeral in
Oh,
season
there
2.
was. He
Yeah,
was a
remember
guy.
Yeah, I remember
and
that Conor
we
Roy was
knew
interested in
him.
politics from a very young
Yeah,
age.
he was a guy, and we knew him, and I was interested in politics from a young age. You're true. That's true. That's true. But only Connor was at that one, not everybody. Anyways,
Yeah. Well, Willa went with him too, Sha, but yes.
and then she wrote that terrible speech.
Oh
At
my
which point we should have
goodness.
known that her play was going to be terrible.
We should have known. They gave us the signs.
Okay, let's wrap it up there, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Everybody, thank you again for coming all the way to Norway with me.
Yeah, the air is thin here, but it's fun.
Everybody, smile, everybody. We just got $192 per share.
I'll consider it.
But always remember, in the words of Greg, the baguette might be mightier than the bagel.
Oh Jesus.
Greg, man, I love you. He reads his economist articles. Okay, that's a good point to end it. Thank you very much. Guys, please, if you're listening, please rate and review. Please listen
There's
to other
another one of them.
episodes. There's another one of them. You guys are all related. But yeah, join us next week when hopefully we'll finally be joined by Obiora again. And of course, we'll be joined by the one and only Daniel Kaluya. Bye, guys.
Word up.